Hi, I'm John and welcome to this video on making a circle cutting guide for your router. I made this one a number of years ago. It's a little bit on the smaller side, but I did use it to cut the top for this little table. I did have to do some pretty heinous things to it with double-sided tape and blue tape in order to get it to be the right size radius. I have a bunch more of these little tables to make, and I'm not really super comfortable relying on the holding power of blue tape and double-sided tape. So I went ahead and made a newer version, which looks a lot better too. And this will cut a much larger radius. So if you have some circles to cut with your router and you have some spare scrap 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch plywood, a little bit of hardware, and a 1/2 inch dowel, stick around because that's what I'm doing in this video. And if you'd like the exact dimensions of the guide that I made, visit my website at warrentonwoodworks.com and go to the project page for the circle cutting router jig, and I have the exact dimensions that I used there. So now let's get started with cutting out the parts. To even up these two pieces, because I'm just not spatially aware enough to get those right the first time. This one was the last one I just ran through the table saw, so I'm just going to take this one, run it through the table saw, and then the two side pieces will be the same. So now that the rails and the slide are cut, I'm going to go ahead and cut this 1/4 inch piece of plywood to glue on the back of the rails, and that will secure the slide in place. So the key thing when you're gluing this backing piece on is that it has to be glued so that the slide widest piece is going to be captured. Obviously, if you glue the narrow piece, the slide will just drop out, so there's really no point to doing that. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to do. You want to have an anchor that will be at the back where the router is going to be. And I think I want mine about 2 inches. I think that's about what it was before. No, it was longer than that. We'll go 2.5. So we'll go 2.5 inches. So you can make the length of the platform as long as you like. The only problem is when you get it to be too long, it becomes a little bit unwieldy and it's hard to move around. So I think I'm going to go 18 inches. And it's arbitrary, but it will determine what the longest radius that you can use will be. I'm going to set the dowel pivot point 2 inches back from the front of this slide. I don't have to worry about getting too close because I have this smaller jig for smaller holes. So 2 inches will be fine. I think I'm going to set it just a little bit shy of 1/2 inch for it to stick out. We'll just square off the top. So I'm going to make a few adjustments to some of the measurements that I originally started with, just so that I can get a 24-inch radius. I'm going to use a 1/16 of an inch drill bit to drill through as a guide hole, and then I will come back on the other side of the slide and drill out a 1/2 inch hole with this Forstner bit. That will hold the top of the screw and the washer. I want to do it with the slide inside of the rails, make sure there aren't any alignment issues. So the 1/2 inch Forstner bit is not the right size. It needs to be 3/4 of an inch. That's good. That will clear the bottom of the slide. So now we have to do the 1/4 inch to actually go through. So I think at this point I'm going to put one more hole right in the middle of these two, just so that I have a little bit more flexibility. It's easy to do it now. It'll be a pain to do it later. So to cut these lines, I'm just going to use my track saw. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope you'll come back and check out my next video on making these little outdoor tables, where I'll actually be using this jig. And I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel.